So this photograph of world leaders from the G7 summit kind of captures the mood of how it went. The guy in the White House showed up late, left early, slammed our allies, and refused to sign a joint agreement that his own people helped write. So the question is, why go? I mean, we pay for the fuel and everything, but, you know, if you're not going to do anything, why did you go?
Well, on State of the Union with Jake Tapper, Kudlow, who is his advisor and was working on this for so long, said that Trump did attend in good faith, but that after Justin Trudeau said that he was insulted by some of the things that the president said, that in reaction to that statement, that Trump then sort of started tweeting out, you know, all these things and disparaging statements against our allies. I fear that we have a president that is so temperamental, that can't seem to control himself, that true diplomacy, he's probably incapable of doing. I mean, why would you throw all that work away because you're reacting to something that someone says?
Well, I was really troubled by some of the things that his advisor said and that he said yesterday. We called the Prime Minister of Canada, the United States, the President of the United States, his advisors called him weak, dishonest, a backstabber. I mean, just, you know, the most... Oh, and that there was a special place in hell for Justin Trudeau. I thought that was just so personal, ad hominem attacks against the Prime Minister of our neighbor. I mean, we're not talking Gaddafi or Castro or Ortega. We are talking Canada.
Well, and I think it gets really weedsy when you get into the economics of the tariffs, because I tried to look into it to see, was there a point? Are we getting, as Trump would say, screwed by something? So I tried to look in. The problem here, for me, the biggest problem was the optics. So you have him going to this summit and pretty much flipping a middle finger to many allies that we had, trade things. Then he says, why isn't Russia here? And then he flies to meet with Kim Jong-un. So you look at all of this, and even if there was a point, a campaign promise buried in there, very hard to see when the optics of all of this end up looking like he's forgotten where we're supposed to hold hands. He started punching. So...
Yeah, I mean, I was actually messaging our executive producer yesterday because I have been so upset, deeply upset over the idea that we would possibly let Russia back into the G8, G7. I think people need to understand that in 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea, which is part of the Ukraine, it was the first violation of a European country's border since World War II. And they are Putin is using aggression as a bloodlust for the Soviet Union. He is going to try and expand into Europe in every way possible and undermine democracy. And we as Americans in the G7, we with our allies, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, the point of this is that we do not agree. We do not stand for tyranny, for dictatorship, for killing journalists, for killing people who speak out. And I implore everyone, because I think we need a little history lesson, maybe our president does too, in 2014 to look at the opposition protests in 2014 in Kiev. Ukraine does not want to be part of Putin's regime. They want freedom. They want democracy. So do we as Americans, do we still believe in freedom and democracy in Europe? Or do we believe in tyranny and dictatorships where you can just kill people at any moment? And for me, I'm not seeing a lot of leadership in the Republican Party, and I don't know when I came from Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall to now this acceptance of dictatorship. And I will say, Ben Sasse said Putin is not our friend and he's not the president's buddy. He's a thug using Soviet-style aggression to wage a shadow war against America, and our leaders should act like it.
Well, and 2014, he said, I will not do this. I will not violate international law and go into Crimea. Why invite him to any agreement? Because you can't trust him. He promises, he signs
in addition to can I read something that your dad said?
Yeah.
To our allies, bipartisan majorities of Americans remain pro-free trade, pro-globalization, and supportive of alliances.
Alliances. 70 years of shared values. Americans stand with you, even if our president doesn't.
And you see, I agree with the sentiment that John is expressing there, but I'm not sure that's true anymore, that a bipartisan majority of, certainly not a majority of Republicans, and if they do, they are standing there or they are sitting there in silent complicity, to your point, because they're not speaking out. I was scrolling through the Twitter feeds of some of the major leaders in foreign policy in the U.S. Senate, and practically none of them said boo about the fact that we are, embracing Putin and
Alienating
antagonizing our allies. And as
Yeah.
far as the, you were talking about the actual tariff issue, we have a trade surplus of billions and billions of dollars with Canada.
8.4
we have a
billion,
trade
to be
deficit
exact.
with Russia.
Yeah, it's bizarre to me because, again, and I think, Anna, you and I mean, when you are raised and bred on a certain set of values that you commit to and love, and it is the way that I view the world. I believe in freedom on a very basic level. I believe in freedom internationally. And the fact that we would somehow be okay or even insinuate that we are not going to be pro-democracy in Europe because we have some kind of pact or Trump has some kind of deal with Putin, it is a bizarro universe for me to live in. And it is petrifying going forward in our role globally and what it means for the expansion. Putin is getting everything he wants. He's probably laughing his face off, and he's getting more and more powerful. And why did we even engage in the Cold War?
It's closer to home than democracy in Crimea.
Yes.
It's democracy in the United States. He
yeah.
hacked our elections. And
Yeah,
he tried
yeah.
to do the same in France.
Yeah.
And he tried to do the same, in Germany. So this is about
Isn't
our domestic
why?
policy.
Isn't the question why? Why is Trump beholden to Putin? Why? That's the question that we all need to be asking ourselves.
I agree with that, but I also think that we can't. It's exhausting for me because, again, when you're traditionally, up until 2 years ago, if you're a conservative, you traditionally believe X, Y, and Z in regards to foreign policy, and all of a sudden it's shifting, and I'm not shifting. So when we sit here as the Republicans on the table, I can't change the worldview I was raised on and I believe in.
But you know what? Many folks in your party seem to be able to, and that's the question you both are
That's
asking.
foreign policy,
and it is,
family values.
and it is a very important question. This is not going anywhere because the bigger picture is what does it mean for us as a nation and who we think we are, as opposed to who we are now being told we are.
Yeah.
We're going to keep talking about it. We'll be right back.